Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be looking at automation and specifically how to kind of get over that fear of change that a lot of people have. The source material that we're diving into today is an ebook called Cambiamento, which is Italian for change. So very appropriate. And it's all about how to use automation to make things better. You know how sometimes when like a new system rolls out at work, you get that like little pit in your stomach?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, what's this going to mean for me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly what we're going to be exploring today.
It's a very normal reaction. And this ebook, Cambiamento, really dives into that. It uses this term, resistenza psicologica al cambiamento, which is basically like that almost instinct to kind of push back against something new, especially when it has to do with our jobs and our skills.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about it. Like, way back when the first computers came out, people were freaking out.
Yeah.
Or even the internet. Like, nobody knew what to do with that.
Right. And this ebook, it uses a lot of those historical examples to show it's not just an automation thing. Like, pretty much every time there's some kind of new tech, people are resistant at first.
That's so true.
It's just human nature, right?
Yeah. And what I think is interesting, too, is that a lot of times that resistance comes from not really understanding what the tech, even IS.
Exactly.
When people picture automation and they're like, oh, I'm going to have to be a coder now.
Yeah, it all seems so complicated and expensive, right? And Cambiamento spends a lot of time like breaking those myths down.
Oh, I like that.
Like, you know, that the classic excuse, but I've always done it this way.
Oof. I can hear people saying that now.
Oh, totally. But the ebook has this great response to that. It says, well, if everyone thought that way, we'd still be like writing everything by hand instead of using computers. Because every innovation means changing the way we do things a little bit, you know?
Oh, that's good. I like that. But what about the money side of things? Like, it's too expensive. Is that in there too?
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one. And the ebook tackles that head on. It says, okay, yeah, sometimes there's an upfront cost, but think about all the time you're going to save and how much more your team could be getting done. Like in the long run, it pays for itself. And it even talks about how some solutions are made to work for businesses of any size. So it's not just for these huge corporations.
That's good to know. Because I think a lot of times people have this idea that automation's only for like these giant companies with tons of resources.
Right, but that's not always the case.
Another thing that I think kind of freaks people out is this feeling of losing control.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you're relying on an automated system to do something.
That perdita di controllo, as the ebook puts it.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's really cool is how Cambiamento reframes that whole idea.
Oh, okay.
It says it's not about losing control, it's about shifting it.
Okay, I like that.
So instead of you having to do all these tiny little tasks that eat up your day,
Yeah, those little things that just drain your energy.
right, those can be automated, and then you're free to focus on the bigger picture.
So it's like you're freed up to do the more strategic thinking.
Exactly. Instead of getting bogged down in all those tiny details, you can focus on the stuff that really needs a human touch.
I like that. It's not about being replaced. It's about being empowered to do more of the stuff that only you can do.
Exactly. And that's a really key point, I think.
Now, I know some people are going to hear all this and say, well, I just don't have time to learn a whole new system.
Oh, yeah, that's a common one. But the thing is, with a lot of these modern automation tools, you don't have to be a tech expert. They're designed to be user-friendly and to work with the stuff you're already using. Cambiamento emphasizes that a lot.
Well, that's good. So it's not like you have to go back to school to learn how to code or anything.
No, not at all.
Which I think helps to lower that barrier to entry, you know.
Definitely.
It makes it less intimidating.
Right. It's about showing people that automation can be a tool to help them, not something to be afraid of.
Makes sense.
You know, one thing that really jumped out at me in this ebook is that it frames automation as more than just a tech shift. It's almost like a mindset shift.
Ooh, that's interesting. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's arguing that to really make automation work for you, you kind of have to rethink how you view work in general, even creativity and efficiency. It's challenging that old idea that to be productive, you have to do everything yourself.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like we've been conditioned to think that being busy is the same as being productive.
Exactly. And automation kind of forces you to step back and question that. Like, what if letting go of certain tasks actually frees you up to do even better things?
So it's not about just grinding harder. It's about being smarter with your time and energy and using them where they'll have the most impact.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting. The ebook actually suggests that automation can make us more creative.
Wait, really? I always thought it was about machines taking over creative jobs.
Yeah, it's a common misconception. But think about it this way. If you automate all those boring, repetitive tasks, All that mental energy you were spending on them is suddenly freed up.
Oh, yeah. I guess you could use that for things like brainstorming or problem solving, actually coming up with new ideas.
Exactly. It's like clearing out the clutter in your mind to make room for inspiration. The ebook even says that automation can help us explore creative avenues we never would have had time for otherwise.
Wow, I hadn't thought about it that way. So it's not humans versus machines. It's more like humans with machines, achieving more together.
Exactly. It's a partnership, not a competition.
Yeah, and that's a much more empowering way to look at it,
Definitely.
recognizing that
Yeah.
tech can amplify our abilities
Yeah.
instead of replacing us. But okay, mindset aside, what about actually putting automation into practice? Does the ebook give any guidance on that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It really emphasizes having a clear plan, like a roadmap for how you're going to actually implement things.
That makes sense, because just jumping in without any strategy could get messy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the book recommends starting by figuring out which parts of your business would benefit the most from automation.
I see. So like tasks that are really time-consuming or repetitive,
Yeah.
or things that are prone to human error.
Yeah, exactly. You want to strategically target the areas where automation will bring the most value. And then once you've got that figured out, you can start looking at the specific tools and tech that'll fit those needs.
Okay, so there's no one-size-fits-all solution. It's all about finding what works best for your specific situation.
Right. And the ebook even suggests getting your team involved in choosing the tools.
Oh, that's smart. That way they'll feel more ownership over it.
Exactly. And you're more likely to end up with something that actually fits into their workflow.
Makes sense. It's a more collaborative approach.
Yeah.
I like that. So once you've got the tools up and running, is there anything else to keep in mind?
Yeah, the ebook stresses the importance of monitoring and evaluation. Like, don't just set it and forget it. You need to actually track the results, measure the impact, and be willing to adjust things as needed.
So it's an ongoing process, not just a one-time fix.
Exactly. It's through that constant feedback loop that you can really refine the automation process to make sure it's actually delivering what you want.
Right, so you need to stay flexible,
Yeah, and adapt as your needs change.
which I think is a key takeaway from this whole deep dive,
I
actually.
think so too.
It's about embracing that mindset shift
Definitely.
alongside the tech itself.
Yeah. Viewing automation as a tool for empowerment, for creativity, for growth.
Well said. Before we get too philosophical, though, I do want to circle back to something the book mentioned, this website called Automatizzo.it. It seems like a great example of these principles in action, especially for content creation.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Content creation can be such a time suck. It's definitely ripe for automation.
Yeah, and remember they're offering a free article worth €100.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So you can try it out risk-free.
Which is awesome.
And it really fits with what the ebook was saying about starting small
Yeah.
and kind of building up your confidence with the tech.
Exactly. It's about taking that first step and seeing what's possible.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our automation deep dive. And it's been really fascinating to see how much of this is about changing how we think, not just about the technology itself.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Going through this ebook, Cambiamento, it's clear that picking the right tools is only one part of the equation.
Totally. It keeps coming back to that mindset shift.
And speaking of mindset, the book has a whole section on building a culture of innovation. It argues that it's not just about individuals adapting. It's about creating an environment where people are encouraged to embrace new tech.
So it's like a top-down approach, where leaders need to be the ones championing automation.
Exactly. They need to show that they're willing to embrace change themselves, encourage experimentation, lead by example.
That makes sense. But what about the people who are maybe a little hesitant or even anxious about these changes?
Cambiamento talks about that too. It says it's really important to create a safe space for employees to voice their concerns, ask questions, and feel supported. Because change can be scary for people. And it's important to acknowledge that.
Oh, absolutely. So open communication and transparency are key.
Yeah, for sure. It's about building trust and reducing that anxiety.
And I imagine it also helps to celebrate the successes along the way.
Definitely. Even the small wins, because recognizing those helps to build momentum. And it shows people the positive impact that automation can have.
Right. It creates that positive feedback loop
Yeah.
where everyone feels like they're part of the process.
Exactly. It's about fostering collaboration and shared success, not just top-down mandates.
So everyone feels empowered to use these new tools and ways of working.
Exactly. Cambiamento also talks about the importance of ongoing training and development. Because as tech evolves, our skills need to evolve too.
Right. It's not a one-time thing. You need to keep investing in your team's growth
Yeah.
so they can keep up with this ever-changing landscape.
And I think that investment really pays off in the long run, both for the individuals and for the organization as a whole.
Totally. It creates a win-win situation where everyone benefits from automation. Now, before we wrap up, there's one more thing that's been on my mind throughout this whole conversation.
Okay, I'm curious.
Well, with all this talk about the potential of automation, I think we have to talk about the human element too. Like, how do we make sure that as we automate, we're not leaving people behind?
That's such an important point. We have to be mindful of the impact on jobs in the workforce. The ebook actually touches on this a bit.
Okay.
It emphasizes the importance of what it calls responsible automation.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Well, it argues that we need to create opportunities for people to learn new skills so that everyone can benefit from these advances in technology. It's about making sure that automation enhances human capabilities, not exploits or replaces them.
So it's about using this powerful tool ethically,
Mm.
responsibly, making sure that it serves humanity,
Mm-hmm.
not the other way around.
Exactly. As we continue to explore automation, it's so important to have these conversations and to make sure that it's being developed in a way that aligns with our values.
Absolutely. Well said. All right, deep divers. I think it's time to come up for air. We've covered a lot of ground today, from why people resist automation to some practical strategies for embracing change.
Yeah, we even talked about how automation can boost creativity, foster innovation, and empower both individuals and organizations.
And importantly, we discussed the ethical considerations, making sure that automation is used responsibly to make the world a better place.
Right, and if anyone's interested in exploring this further, Cambiamento highlighted Automatizzo.it as a good starting point, especially for content creation. It seems like a very user-friendly platform.
Yeah, and they're offering a free article worth 100 euros.
Oh, that's right.
So you can try it out risk-free.
That's a great opportunity.
But as we've learned today, automation is about so much more than just the tools. It's about changing the way we think, being open to new possibilities, and never stopping learning.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
So as you navigate this crazy world, approach automation with a sense of curiosity, a critical eye, and maybe even a little bit of adventure.
Oh, definitely.
Who knows what amazing things you might discover. Until next time, keep diving deep.